Okay, due to COVID-19 restrictions, we're having some special process for people to participate in the design review and historic preservation. I'd like to go over that. In order to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the City of Sonoma is providing multiple alternatives to viewing design review and historic preservation commission meetings and providing comments on the agenda. These alternatives allow the city to adhere to social distancing requirements following the governor's executive order N2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act and provides numerous ways for the public to provide public comments during a live meeting. So you're able to view the meetings a number of ways. You can view the meetings online. You can do it here. You can it's being live streamed on the city's web portal at sonomacity.civicweb.net. It's also available on the YouTube channel, which is www.com/UCHZJURGTRNLYXTGQHHFY-TG. Might be a bit of a challenge, but you can search it up on YouTube. Submitting comments by email. If you choose not to attend the Design Review Historic Preservation Committee, but wish to make a comment on a specific agenda item, please submit your comment via public comment at sonomacity.org at any time. Prior to the meeting, public correspondence per the meeting's standard practice, any comments received prior to the commencement of the meeting will be uploaded to the public correspondence folder on the city's website service portal and available for review by the public and city council. It will not be read during the meeting. During the meeting as public comment, if you wish for your comments to be read into the record, please submit an email to publiccomment@sonomacity.org after the chair calls the meeting to order and prior to close the public comment on that item agenda. A virtual participation by Zoom, which I assume is how most of you will do this. The City of Sonoma is now offering the ability to view and participate in Design Review Historic Preservation Commission meetings via video and teleconferencing using the Zoom application. Instructions for participating in Zoom are provided below. Please visit zoom.us/J and enter the number 982-2995-59654. That's the meeting number. You can either sign up for a free Zoom account or continue as a guest. Once you've downloaded the app on your smartphone and joined from a web browser or downloaded Zoom, you'll be ready for the meeting. If you previously signed up for Zoom, you can enter the following meeting. That meeting number again is 980-2995-9654. If I don't have a computer or smartphone, can I still use Zoom? If you don't have a smartphone or computer, you have access to the meeting, no problem. You can participate on phone by calling one of the following numbers: 699-990-9128, 253-215-8782, 346-248-7799, 301-715-8592, 312-626-6799, or 646-558-8656. And again, you entered the meeting ID, which was provided for Zoom, which is 980-2995-9654. How do I provide public comments on Zoom? The chair will request public comments during the public comment period on the agenda, during each public hearing, and each regular calendar item. Once the commission has announced the public comment period, please do one of the following. If you're using a computer or smartphone, please click on Raise Your Hand feature in the webinar controls. This will notify the city staff you've raised your hand and would like to speak. The city staff will unmute your microphone when it's your turn to provide public comment. Note, the public video will not be shown on the screen because we're using webinar format. A prompt will appear to confirm you'd like to be unmuted. Once you accept the prompt, you will have 3 minutes to provide public comment. Once your public comment is ended, you will be muted again. You may use a regular dial phone by using *9. This will notify the city staff you've raised your hand for public comment. City staff will unmute your microphone when it's your turn to provide public comment. You will hear you are unmuted and then have 3 minutes to provide your public comment. Once your public comment has ended, you'll be muted again. If I don't want to provide any comment live, may provide a public comment for the record anyway. Of course, because this meeting is for and of the people. You may submit all comments via public comment at sonomacity.org. You may have a difficulty preparing for the meeting with Zoom. Do you have any other resources? Yes, you may visit Zoom's website for their support page and helpful tips prior to the meeting, which is support.zoom.us/hc.en-us categories 2011-46643. And that pretty much sums up the attendance by Zoom. We go ahead and look and see. Also regarding agenda items, we'll not accept any agenda items. The protocol is the meeting will be closed by 10 p.m. unless the commission decides by majority vote to extend that. If an item is not here to do the special length of meeting, we'll make an attempt to reschedule that meeting a following week. If a special meeting is necessary, we can establish that process as soon as possible during the meeting and thereafter. With all that out of the way, I'd like to say, are there any I guess we have to ask, are there any comments from the public at this time?
There are no written comments, and I see no hands raising, so I will say no, there's no public comment. Oh, wait, hold on just a moment. We have one from Signs of All Kinds. You may speak.
You have 3 minutes, please. Appear to be muted.
Yep, I've asked him to unmute himself. I don't hear him speaking. So Joe Walsh would also like to make a comment. Joe, you may speak.
Mine was a mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
No public comment.
Thank you. We'd like to review in consideration of the Brown Act, any changes to agenda or order of the agenda are allowed under the Brown Act. Is there any desire to change the order in general of this agenda as presented? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll go ahead and make that motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Would you like a roll call vote?
Sure.
Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Burt,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay. I'd like to ask staff, is there any late correspondence at this time?
No, there's not.
Okay, well then I guess we'll move on to the consent calendar. Starting with item number 6.1, which is approving the minutes of the meeting from March 16th, 2021.
Good. Actually, Chair Cormany, everything on the consent calendar can be acted on in one motion unless a specific item is removed from the consent calendar for discussion by the commission. So at this time, you could just ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar, and then if it's approved, both items will be approved.
I like that. Okay, I'd like to ask for motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
And the vote?
Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Burt,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
and Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now we can get into it. So item number 6.1 is approving the minutes from the regular meeting from March 21st.
Actually, we'll move on to item 7.1.
Oh, we can skip that because it was approved in the last.
Right.
Got it. Okay, we'll get there. Okay, moving on to item number 7.1. Fast my little fingers move. Which is a sign review application for, here we go. It's commercial sign. Can we get a report from staff, please?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Cormany and members of the commission. This item was continued from the meeting last month. Oops, excuse me. There we go. This is a sign application for a new sign for commercial property, Rite Aid, located in the Maxwell Village Shopping Center at 19205 Sonoma Highway. Here's a picture of the sign. It seems like, hold on. There we go. There we go. Let's start from the beginning. The project is located in the Maxwell Village Shopping Center along Sonoma Highway. It's located in the West Napa Sonoma Highway corridor. It's zoned commercial. The commercial use of the property is allowed by the development code. Here are pictures of the existing sign and the proposed sign. Here is a picture of the actual sign. In 1988, the Architectural Review Commission approved a sign program for the shopping center, which allowed for the subject tenant space to have one 48 square foot wall sign on the face of the building. In 2014, this commission approved a 66.6 square foot illuminated wall sign for Rite Aid, and the approved sign is considered non-conforming. At this time, a new illuminated wall sign is proposed. It's 87 square feet in area. The sign face consists of a white aluminum channel letters with a blue, white, and green aluminum logo can. The Maxwell Village Shopping Center monument sign will also be updated to reflect the name of the name change or the logo change, but it's not subject to this commission's review as it's consistent with the approved sign program. Internally illuminated signs shall not exceed 27 square feet in area, and the proposal is not consistent with this requirement, and the applicant is requesting a variance from this standard. The proposal is consistent with the aggregate sign area for the property or for the business. With regard to the discussion of project issues, the maximum size of an internally illuminated sign is 27 square feet, unless a variance is approved by this commission. And staff determined that the basic findings and the variance findings cannot be made to support the proposed sign of 87 square feet. And so staff is recommending that this commission deny the sign application. Here are the basic findings that would need to be approved to, would need to be made to approve the sign. And here are the variance findings. So the first one is exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions not resulting from any act of the owner or applicant apply to the location, and not generally to other businesses or properties in the vicinity. And two, strict adherence to a regulation may cause unnecessary hardship or prohibit the exercise of creative design. And the application submitted is extraordinary and outstanding in design. Three, the exception is the minimum necessary to serve its intended use. Four, the exception is in conformance with the purpose and intent of with the purpose and intent of this title. And five, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public interest or welfare or injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity. So staff wasn't able to make the required findings, and this commission would need to provide evidence in the record that the findings can be made in order to allow the approved variance. And that concludes staff's report. Thank you.
Are there any questions for staff?
I do have a question. I remember when we were talking about this, and one of the things that was brought up was the Lucky's sign that we had approved. And I don't remember if that they had requested a variance or how that compared to the signage or the proposed signing for Rite Aid. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So as we move forward in with our new planning director, we're following the rules in the sign ordinance more closely. And so the Lucky sign was approved prior to our planning director coming on board. And so the requirement to make the variance findings in this fashion wasn't adhered by. And I do know that the Lucky sign is larger than 27 square feet in area.
So I have a question for staff. Does the fact that it's internally illuminated change the square footage requirements? Is that a factor as well?
An interior illuminated sign can't exceed 27 square feet in area.
So they need to be smaller if they're internally illuminated? Is that
Right.
what it says?
Yes,
So that's a factor in this as well.
yes.
Thank you. Any other question? Is the applicant available? And the way you can do this, you can just raise your hand, the little hand on the bottom of your screen, and you'll be brought into the meeting. Is there
Yep.
somebody? Yeah?
Yes, I'm promoting a couple of folks.
Okay.
So,
Please,
Oh, sorry. Hi.
it's okay. You please state your name and address for
Sorry,
the
give me 1
record.
second here. I think we could switch to my headset.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi. I'm sorry. I had to adjust the privacy settings to allow the microphone to work. I'm
Can
Sean
you
with
please-
Signs of All Kinds.
can you please state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Yep. I'm Sean Dreyer with Signs of All Kinds on Field Crest Court in Santa Rosa. I'm the one who has submitted the permit application for the sign.
Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, exactly. So there's an existing, as you guys know, an existing Rite Aid store that's been there, and they have an old. Rite Aid updated their logo and their type style, and they obviously got approval last time for a internally illuminated channel letter set, and we're just trying to replace that sign with their new style sign. I know that the new one is
Yep. Looks like you're breaking up there. Can you try again?
be a little bigger than the old one. I apologize.
Sean, we can't hear you.
I think we're having some signal strength issues. Can you try and repeat yourself? It's breaking up.
I can speak for the Rite Aid sign if,
Yeah, is this better now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. So anyway, there's an existing Rite Aid sign that is internally illuminated, and we are just wanting to update it to. Rite Aid has new branding. It's still Rite Aid. It's just a new style of sign, a new logo, and a thinner stroke on the letters. I understand that it's bigger. That building is pretty big, and when you have a big anchor tenant like that, and with a big fascia and a small dinky little sign on the front, it just looks weird, for one. And I know that it has a bigger square footage, obviously, than what is currently allowed. I'd like everyone to please keep in mind that the letter stroke is actually more narrow than it was in the past. If you look at the plans, the mock-up of the new sign compared to the older sign is much, the letter stroke is much wider. I think that they're just trying to fill the space appropriately. And so essentially it's just out with the old, in with the new, says the same thing. You guys did approve the one that's there currently. So we would just hope that you guys would approve the new one. And I think I've installed a few of these now, and they actually do look really nice. Being that it is a thinner letter stroke, even though its overall size is larger, its illuminated implication is not quite as prudent because the letters are not as wide. So the letters being thinner gives it less light overall, because instead of having 4 rows of LEDs, you probably have 2 inside the letters. I don't know, it's pretty straightforward for me, but I understand that, not everybody's in the sign business. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them and try and address anything that you might be concerned about with that.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission? No?
I guess, yes, I have.
Okay.
So I guess, thank you, Chair Carmody. I guess I'm just wondering, well, honestly, when I look at the photograph, the two spaces almost look identical that the sign is filling. But I'm wondering why the square footage, obviously it must be bigger, but it's, why is it bigger? I mean, why did you go to the bigger square footage?
So, I think.
It's not, and
what
by the way,
might
it's not a little dinky sign. It's a big sign.
No, I understand. But if you had a 27 square foot sign in there, it would be very dinky.
Right,
It wouldn't look
yes.
right.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I am a subcontractor for Visible Graphics. They
Okay.
have the Rite Aid account. They are a local California company, sign company. And I think what they probably did is they called me in to secure the permits and do the work. I think what they did was their preliminary research. They looked to see what the limitations for square footage were. I know most cities give you 1 square foot per linear foot of store frontage, and there's usually a max amount. So I think what they did was they didn't see that the illuminated signs, internally illuminated signs, needed to be no more than 27 square feet. So I think that they, just went with what they thought was the rule. Now that sign being over 80 square feet, we're talking about, if we go to 27, is like a quarter of the size. It's really small for a major anchor tenant. It looks like a boutique sign. And then also they saw that the sign that was there currently is obviously bigger than 27 square feet, and there was approval for that once before. And so obviously, and I honestly, I could care less if they can approve for it or not. I have no, I'm not going to gain anything from Rite Aid getting a bigger sign. If you guys think that it needs to be a little bit smaller, I could see that. There should be a happy medium somewhere. I just know that fascia size that's there should have at least some kind of a balance between the sign size and the sign fascia. That fascia
Right.
is specifically for a sign.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And for clarity, and this is to staff, there are some additional requirements that pertain to the distance from the street that would be applicable here too. Is that correct?
That applies to the sign area, the maximum aggregate sign area that's allowed. It doesn't allow.
Again.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't allow a sign, an interiorly illuminated sign larger than 27 square feet.
So the distance, the 50 foot, the 150 foot distance from the center line does not apply to the
Right,
sign.
that grants them, the business, a larger number of, a larger amount of aggregate sign area, so they can have 72 square feet of sign area, but the interiorly illuminated sign is still limited to 27 square feet.
Right. Thank you for that clarity.
And it looks like the owner of the shopping center is on the line, and he might want to make a comment. Ken, you can go ahead and speak. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Ken Kendall. I'm actually the owner of Visible Graphics. But thank you, Wendy. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. First, I'd like to address one of the other questions that was raised as to why, when you look at the two images, does it appear that they look the same, but the square footage is different? In the prior version of the Rite Aid logo, the logo was only slightly higher or taller than the letters. Whereas in the new logo, the new branding, the logo is considerably larger than the letters. So by default, if you do a 4-sided box around the sign, that
Yeah.
logo increases the square footage dramatically while not increasing the surface area of the sign. Does that help explain that one question you had?
Yes, very, very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And then secondly, I would like to say, I have gone through the code, and I'm not sure my interpretation is the same, because it seems to me that the 27 square foot is in fact the code. And then if the additional square footage is allowed based on the distance from the street, that the interpretation would mean that that would be proportionately allowed on the illuminated sign as well as a non-illuminated sign. So I mean, that's something we can look at later or, discuss more. But most importantly, I would like to say just a couple of things. And I know Dave from our company wanted to make a couple of comments. Is one, we are working under what I believe is a comparable sign replacing the existing sign with the new sign. That is one. Number two, I believe that although there has been a change in personnel at the city, it is extremely injurious to Rite Aid to say that because they're pulling their permit later than somebody else, they would get a smaller sign and their competitor would be allowed to keep a larger sign. And so I would hope that like for like would be considered as well there. And then finally, I would like to say that I am not a fan of big, huge sign monstrosities. I live in a community where signage is very well regulated, and I think it's appropriate. But at 27 square feet, that far back from the road, and that's what I tried to articulate in our discussion when we responded to the questions, is that sign, not only will it diminish the ability for the public to see their location, but I think it actually diminishes the look of the city and the presentation of the center by having this tiny little sign on the building when I think there is an appropriate size. I know that in the past, the previous sign, there was 66.6 square foot approved, and maybe we need to make an adjustment to our 87, but we just would like all of those to be considered. Thank you guys very, very much for listening and letting us speak. And we really appreciate the opportunity to work in your city, and we value this opportunity. So thank you.
Welcome.
Okay,
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
And through the chair, may I make a comment?
Certainly.
So there's an opportunity here to have 2 interiorly illuminated signs of a maximum of 27 square feet. So each business can have 2 signs. So that's one thing that this commission could consider in your discussions.
Okay. At this time, are there any public comments?
I'd like to comment.
Okay, can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Dave Mon from Visible Graphics. We're the sign company for Rite Aid. Ken, the owner of the company, is the person you just heard speak. And I also work for Visible Graphics, who does the signs for Rite Aid.
Okay.
I echo Ken's statements. We really appreciate you all taking your time and listening to this variance hearing. Rite Aid is extremely proud to have been an essential business and to be able to offer their services to the Sonoma community through this pandemic. And as the applicant who is our installer had mentioned previously, when we did do the survey for the Rite Aid signage, we did see that the channel letters that were existing were 36 inches in height, and the logo was approximately 38, close to 39 inches in height. So what we tried to do is we tried to mimic the area of the existing sign, while carrying Rite Aid's new letter to logo ratio and making it balance well on the facade, which I feel that what's being proposed does balance well. It's been made a couple of comments about the 27 square feet, being set back over 150 feet from the center of the street with a 27 square foot sign would just be very small. And, there's a fine line between, a sign being obnoxiously huge and a sign being so small that it's not legible. And, if the other sign, the existing sign is about 66 square feet, give or take. But if we were to take the logo to letter ratio height of the new signage, which is very attractive in the way that it's presented, and we were to box the logo by itself and then box Rite Aid, that sign that we're proposing really comes out to 63.50 square feet. And because that way you're getting rid of all the dead space, along the whole top of the word Rite Aid and the bottom of the word Rite Aid because of the logo height. So we tried to balance it out, very well. And I work in a lot of cities across the country, so I understand the ordinances and that you all have to keep to a standard, and we appreciate that and we honor that. But we're just really reaching out to you to consider the application and consider what we're trying to do, which is just portray Rite Aid's new extremely attractive rebranding, which they're doing across the country, and just consider our application and what we're trying to achieve.
I would appreciate that. Are there any more public comments? Staff, are there any written public comments?
Yes, there is a comment from Signs of All Kinds. Go ahead, you can speak. You'll need to unmute yourself.
I figured it out. I got it this time. Hi. One other thing. I understand. I obviously live in Sonoma County. I live in Santa Rosa. Used to live in Sebastopol. Sebastopol has very similar mindset of illuminated signs as Sonoma. It's a very exclusive community, very nice, small town. You got that feel for it. And one of the things I can understand of why they may require a smaller sign that is illuminated is because you don't want to see a bunch of really bright signs, a big bright sign just like deterring from the ambiance of the area. And I know I mentioned this, but the one thing to consider is that the letter stroke is really thin. And so if you took that square footage area, and I know nobody's going to do this, but just visualize it. If you actually mapped out how much square footage that was actually lighting up, it's very little. The logo, yeah, that's the main part. That's the logo. It's still in relative to the overall size is pretty insignificant. But the letter stroke is so slim that it's just, a taller letter, but really slim. And so it's not going to be this glaring, bright, overly obtrusive sign that's going to kind of make people not want to look at it. And I just hope that you guys can take into consideration in the square footage of the actual part that lights, because it is a lot. And currently it will actually be less. There will be less square footage of actual illumination than there was on the old sign. And that's all that I have to say. Please just after that.
Wendy, have I got an opportunity to say something? It's
Sure, if you can announce yourself.
so hi, my name is Andy Schwarzkopf. I'm a senior vice president at Jones Lang LaSalle, an agent for the Rite Aid group in this rebrand. We're managing it on their behalf. I think I've listened to everything. You've heard all the technical. I think the one thing we would like you to consider is the rebrand effort was based on the new CEO driving this business more as a pharmacy. So if you like an essential business in the times of COVID, they're doing vaccinations there. So if that can be considered in all of this, that it's not a a pub or restaurant, but actually a pharmacy that people get their medications from. So for them being visible, and then obviously the competitors and everything else. So that I just wanted to throw that little piece in there. Thank you very much.
Okay, we appreciate that. Are there any other public comments? And staff, are there any written public comments?
No.
Okay. Hearing there are no further comments, I'm going to close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the commission for discussion. I'm going to start with Commissioner Randall.
Okay, thank you, Chair Carmody. First of all, I want to thank, gosh, I think we have an echo maybe. All right, I'll keep talking. It's not on my side, I don't think. First of all, I want to thank the folks who presented about the Rite Aid signs. I do understand the rebranding, and that's my world too. I'm a marketing person. Your presentation and explanations were extremely helpful. So the thoughts that are going through my mind are these. I agree that the two signs are comparable in size visually. And that was very helpful to explain that the new logo is higher than the text. That's what accounts for the extra square footage. And it seems like the lighting was approved in 2014, and that an internally lit sign would be comparable to the previous signage. And I'm wondering if now with the 27 square foot requirement that we're trying to be more compliant with, if we could consider that for brand new signs that have never been someplace, have never been there before, versus removing somebody's illuminated lighting that they've had for a while. So those are thoughts that I've had. And I appreciate the last comment by Mr. Schwarzkopf about the fact that Rite Aid is being rebranded as a pharmacy. And if you're going to a pharmacy for medication or vaccines, you need to be able to see it where it is. Thank you.
Through the chair, can I try to address
Sure.
Commissioner Randolph's comments? So the existing sign is considered legally non-conforming. And in the past few years, staff hasn't been following the rules of the sign ordinance. And now that we have a new planning director who's making us follow the rule of the code, it limits these types of signs to 27 square feet. And the intent with this is to eliminate the non-conforming signs. So when a sign is non-conforming and a new sign application comes before this commission, there are extremely difficult findings that this commission have to make in order to approve a variance. And so that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you, staff. Appreciate that. Commissioner Amar.
Hello, thank you for everyone's comments who chimed in to present. All of your comments were very helpful. I think that last week I also commented that the thinness of the letters gives it less, overall visual impact than those big chunky letters. So I think it may be comparable, although it seems like such a, I don't see that the logo looks all of that big. Maybe it has less of a bit visual impact, or I just have this little black and white copy I'm looking at. But as I'm looking at this photograph, it looks like the scale is appropriate for that fascia. And I agree that it's far off the street and people, it's a really busy shopping center and people are looking left and right trying to figure out which way to turn. For safety reasons, I think it's nice to have a little bit of a bigger sign in that corner. And I think that's all I had to say about that. So I think maybe some of those reasons could become exceptional circumstances, or We're just gonna have to maybe see it presented in the way that is 27 feet, so we can have a more educated idea of what that actually looks like on that space. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson? Oh, you're muted.
Are we there?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with the comments made by both the commissioners so far, and I have no problems with the branding change at all, absolutely. But I would prefer to keep the text the sign in general to the scale of what's existing. They look pretty much the same, and as Commissioner Mars said, the chunkier letters, I think, give it more visibility. So I don't know if they're well, I know that's not part of the new brand look, but I'm just saying that size seemed to be just fine over the years since I've been going there and driving by there, and visibility from the road. I'm curious to see what the 27 feet would look like in scale as well. But as is, I don't think I've heard anything that leads me to believe that if the sign was to remain the same size that it is now, that it would be detrimental to them. So I'm open to listening to more of the commissioners' comments, and that's all I'll say right now.
Thank you. Vice Chair Burt?
That's the problem that we have when you have non-conforming signs. We went through this at the last meeting with the monument sign on Broadway, and we made an exception to that. And by punishing Rite Aid because they already have a non-conforming sign, and then having to bring in a smaller sign to conform to the current guidelines, I don't think that's the right way to go about it. I do agree with Commissioner Johnson. If we were to move forward with it and improve the signage in the same size that it is now, which is still non-conforming, I would think that we still have to have another variance, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct? And it sounds earlier, I think one of the gentlemen from Signs of All Kinds even seemed open to negotiate that and see if he would be willing to go with that, is to move forward with it. I like the fact that the letters are not as chunky as they were. I think again, with illumination, I have no issue with that. And in all fairness, we did what we did with Lucky. I would like to see it. I'd like to see the consistency. We already started there. I don't know what the size was in comparison to what they're proposing now, or what they have as far as the existing non-conforming against the Lucky sign. It would have been nice to have that as a piece to compare with, because we did it for them. They're right next, they're in the same complex, so it makes sense to have the signage area, compatible with each other. So that's where I am with that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'd like to chime in and say, I have mixed opinions. One thing I see here is a ordinance that seems to be getting variance and starting off with, variance, and it keeps grow. It's like, at what point do you put some limits on that? On the other hand, I see this as somewhat of a like for like replacement. And I don't know that we could, somebody mentioned if it was a new, maybe it was Michaela who mentioned if it was a new sign, you can understand it, but we were essentially replacing an existing. Perhaps there's additional considerations. So this is a challenging one. Anybody else on the commission have anything further they'd like to say?
I have a question.
Chair Randall?
Thank you. Chair Carmody. So Wendy mentioned that the business has the opportunity to have two 27 square foot illuminated signs. I know we're in commission conversation right now. We'd have to go back to the applicant to get their reaction to that. And I'm also wondering if in the new branding package, if there is a form of the sign, is the sign always horizontal? Is there a stacked version? thinking about two signs in that space is a little weird for me. Does from a design standpoint, I'm not sure how that would work or be better. But I'd like to hear the creative people make a comment at some point about considering two signs versus one, so that they could keep their illumination. And my other question would be, is there some other type of illumination they can use that's not internally illuminated that would be acceptable?
So staff, that would require us opening up this back to the public. Is that correct?
Right.
So I can open the meeting back up to the public for response from those parties. If somebody'd like to respond to that.
Am I on?
Yes.
Hi. So what I would propose is, I think the agreement here on almost everybody's end is that 27 is really small, and that maybe the 80 something is a little big. What if you guys considered, maybe we could try and redraw it, the logo, consider that one sign at 27 square feet, or maybe the logo and part of Rite Aid, however much, would equal 27. And then the rest of Rite Aid be another 27. That would give us 54, which would be much closer to a reasonable size sign for the given space. Would you guys like to see maybe some drawing? I think some drawings would help. I think if we had a drawing that showed you what 27 square foot looked like, especially at a distance view from the parking lot, so you could see it really small in the building there, and then another one at 54, and then another one at the existing size, where you could compare all three right next to each other and go, hey, what really makes sense for this space? Could you guys, since you have the option to show two signs, would you be willing to split the Rite Aid sign equally into two 27s for 54 and kind of just visualize that and see if you guys, I think that would be the bare minimum, hopefully, that we could agree on together. Would that work?
I'm going
May I
to
say something real quick?
Sure. Can you state your name again so we know who's
Yeah,
speaking?
it's Andy Schwarzkopf representing Rite Aid. I appreciate what Signs of All Kinds says, but there's some brand compliance issues that we run into. We can't just separate it, move it. There are certain lockups that have been registered legally and so on, so we can't do that. But I think we can, in special case, we can certainly meet the existing size that's there. And obviously, as was explained, the relationship between the letters and the logo is slightly different, which throws out the square footage. But if we go with the exact same footprint of what is there and make the adjustment to the logo, even possibly bringing the logo the same size as the letters, which is an extraordinary case. And of course, with LEDs, one can control it. I think the business would be more than happy to switch it off with a timer or a light switch after closing hours at night for, light pollution. So all of those things can obviously be considered, but, during business hours, if we can be visible and sort of the same size, because I think I'd hate for the business to come back and say they'll just leave the existing sign up and then it'll be one out of 2,136 that has got an old sign. And that's not good business practice neither. So, but they do want to be visible. They have got competitors in the area.
Yeah, we appreciate the comments. Any further comments from the public?
Yes, Ken would like to speak again.
Okay.
Hi, thanks you guys. I mean, Andy summed it up great, but there was one thing I was just going to say. In the like for like, we have another option, which is your current sign is 66.6 square feet. The 30-inch set, the one you're looking at is a 36-inch set. The 30-inch set, keeping all proportions the same as what you're looking at, has a 60 square foot layout. So we could either look at doing that or, and come in at a 60-inch. I mean, a 60 square foot. Sorry, I got distracted there. A 60 square foot layout as well.
Yeah, I'd like to comment.
Okay, can you please state your name?
Dave from Visible Graphics.
Okay.
What Ken is saying, the option that he's talking about as of the 60 square foot sign, The lettering, what's existing now is 36. The 60 square foot version, the letters are 30 inch, which 6 inches smaller, and the logo is 3'7". So a box drawn around that whole option is, it's called out as the 60 square foot. It actually equates to 59.125 square feet. So it would be considerably less than what's existing now, but it would be big enough to where it is legible, and Rite Aid would be able to be recognized and be able to be seen from the street.
Great, thank you, we appreciate that. Okay, any further comments from the public before I close the comments?
No additional comments.
Okay.
And I'd like to, go ahead.
Close the meeting, the comments, and give the commissioners one more chance to have comment.
Commissioner Randolph had a question about the maximum size for
I'm sorry.
an unilluminated sign, and that's 48 square feet.
Okay.
Thank you, Wendy. I guess my question was, though, is there another, this sign is internally illuminated, right? Is there some other form of lighting that could be used where they get some
right,
sorry.
Yeah, an externally illuminated sign, I'm just looking that up, is
because even if they take
32 square feet area is at the maximum size for an externally illuminated sign.
Thank you.
Then any other comments from the commissioners?
Through the chair.
Yes, Mr. Burt?
When it was proposed, if they can come up with some options, and I know, like I said, I don't want to penalize them because they're putting in a new sign, and I'm fine if they can come up with something within the same area that's currently there, knowing that we'll have to give them a variance for that. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission?
Yes.
Randolph.
Thank you, Chair Carmody. Two things. One, is there an example that someone can name or show of a 27 square foot sign? That would be one thing I would like to get a visual on that. And then the other question is code set in absolute stone, or do we need to, not this group, but do we need to look at code on this particular item?
Yeah, through the chair, that is something that you can discuss, revising the sign regulations to allow larger signs. Yes. We couldn't do that at this meeting, but we could certainly, someone could make a motion at the end of the meeting to bring this up as a discussion item at a future meeting.
And if I can chime in, I know this isn't my item. My name's Christina Tierney, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm an associate planner like Wendy. I am in charge of our zoning code amendments, and the sign regulations are coming up very shortly on our list. And in cases like this where a variance would be required, I would highly recommend considering code amendments to address the issue. This is what we've been doing with many other problems that we've had over the past couple of years. We had some issues with rounding provisions and density. And for a tentative tentative parcel map that I had a few years ago, we put a pause on the project, made the appropriate code changes, and came back. We've been doing this for the last 3 or so years, and the goal is really to have our rules and regulations be as crystal clear as possible and as evenly implemented as possible. And just because somebody did something wrong a couple of years ago really shouldn't be a reason why we continue having those bad practices. Wendy touched on the variance findings a little bit. Variance findings are mandated by the state. So this isn't a design review permit. This is a variance. So you have to be able to make the findings that there are special, unique circumstances property in order to justify the variance.
And for clarity, we've identified that it does not meet those requirements as proposed. Is that correct?
That's staff's recommendation.
Okay.
Christina, thank you for that information. What's the timeline on starting to look at the sign ordinance?
Very shortly, and the next round of amendments going to the Planning Commission in May is going to include moving the sign program from Chapter 18 to Chapter 19. We're trying to consolidate all of the planning permits in one location, and then we'll be taking a deeper dive into the sign ordinance in the next 6 months, I would say.
In the next what?
6 months.
Okay.
So fairly short timeline.
Okay.
So one option this commission could consider is continuing this application until after the sign ordinance is amended, and then the applicant could submit a revised sign application consistent with the approved sign ordinance.
Yeah, that's definitely one option. Unfortunately, we have so many instances in this town. The code changes year after year of what was allowable and approved in one year can be different from the next. And as Wendy mentioned, and I believe Commissioner Burt as well, as we go through and we approve new projects, the goal is to bring non-conforming projects into compliance.
Okay, appreciate that. In order to keep them moving forward, we have to present some kind of a conclusion here. Would somebody like to create a motion or submit a motion?
I'm not quite sure, but I would think what makes sense is having continue, have them come back with some options. Like I said, I'm open if they can come back with something in the size of the existing non-conformance. I'll probably need some. I'll probably want to talk to one of the planners in regards to that. But that's where I'm at.
Okay. And anybody willing to put together a motion that we can vote upon?
Well, I guess go ahead.
Go ahead. Chris. Go ahead. Chris.
I was just going to say that I move that we continue this item and look for as Commissioner Burt mentioned, getting some more options from the applicant and maybe delving a little bit into the sign amendment program or the discussions that are going to be coming up regarding that.
Commissioner Randolph, further comment?
I wish I could actually see the people that are applicants.
Oh, wait, just one moment. Before we have discussion, someone would need to second the motion.
Well, I haven't heard of formal structure to a motion yet.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Johnson, did you intend for yours to be a motion?
And that would only be that I move that we continue this this application and have the applicant come back with some other options and also maybe and come back with some other options.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Can we take a vote on that, please?
Now you can have further discussion
We can have further
on the
discussion.
motion if Commissioner Randolph wanted to speak.
Okay. Commissioner Randolph?
Okay, I just wanted to comment that it might be in the better interest of the applicant to wait for the code amendments because right now what they've just spoken about to us, which is very flexible about changing their size down quite a bit, but that's not going to help them with the internal illumination situation. So until, I mean, if I heard what Christina said, if I understood that properly, it would be better to wait, which doesn't probably sound very good when you're trying to move a project forward, but you might it might be better for the applicant to continue until we have some code amendments.
And if I can just chime in a little bit, the sign program, sign ordinance is going to be amended. I don't necessarily know which way the ad hoc committee will want to go. So it could become more restrictive. So I'm not making any recommendations about the specific project. What I'm recommending is that if in instances where we have a project that doesn't comply with code, and if the commission has a desire to figure out a way to support a project, the appropriate thing to do would be to either request that the ad hoc committee consider the issue, or formulate a recommendation about what specific code change you might like to see, and then that can proceed from the ad hoc to the planning commission to city council to be incorporated in.
Yeah, and we could have that on an upcoming agenda, you know, say next month, if that was
and we could
the
do
will
like
of this commission.
Yeah, we could do some breakout sessions and talk about the assign program. And when we get to that, we'll definitely be involving the design review and historic preservation.
Okay. Appreciate the conversation. I'm still looking for a motion we could vote on.
We've got a motion and a second.
Okay. So now take a vote.
All right. Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Burt,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. And if you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment and remove some of the panelists to attendees. So it's just going to take me a moment before I can get to the next item.
That's fine.
Great. I think I'm all ready to go.
Okay. So moving on to agenda item 7.2. Can we get a staff report, please?
Sure.
Me?
No, that's me.
Oh, good. I was trying to remember what order we were in.
I'm going. Oh, except I forgot to share my screen. Here we go. All right. Thank you, Chair Cormany. This is discussion and possible action to approve a sign application for a commercial property. Oh, wait, am I jumping the line? I'm sorry, I'm stopping. Christina, you're right. I got to pay attention to the agenda, Christina. Your item is next, 7.2. I'm sorry, Christina, come back. I'm sorry.
Good thing I didn't start eating dinner.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Can I ask you to please promote Robert Sanders to a panelist? There we go.
You can hear me now, I think.
There we go. And before we start, I would like to very publicly thank Bob for his patience with me on this project. We have been so busy with COVID and this slew of applications. And Bob, thank you so much. I really appreciate your patience. We're here now, and hope to do the project justice. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So we are here today to discuss the 7 branches in and sign permit. The project is located at what everybody knows as Ramekins at 450 West Spain Street. The project site is a 1.7 acre site on the north side of West Spain Street, and it has historically been used and is permitted for a culinary school, bed and breakfast, and an event center. It is surrounded by single-family residential zoning to the north, to the south, medium density residential to the north, low density residential to the east and west as well. The use permit for the culinary school was approved on January 9th, 1997. And the use permit was for the culinary school, a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast. The use was allowed in the residential zoning district with a use permit under a private school and bed and breakfast. The facility consists of a single building containing a special events room with an adjacent kitchen, demonstration cooking classroom with a kitchen, and 6 guest rooms on the second floor. There are 44 on-site parking spaces north and east of the building. Along with the use permit and ramekins are subsequent to the use permit, a sign program was approved for the property on December 15th, 2009. A total of 5 signs were approved, including a monument sign, a fireplace wall sign, 2 freestanding directional signs, and 1 main entrance wall sign as well. The monument sign was approved to be 36 inches by 24 and 5 feet tall. The total square footage would be 12 square feet, with each sign face being 6 square feet each. The approved lighting was 2 20-watt spot uplights, and the main entrance sign was approved to be 36 by 24 and 6 square feet in area. The project is located in the Northwest Planning Area and is zoned medium density residential. The property was purchased in 2020 and is currently being rebranded as 7 Branches Venue and Inn. And the applicant is requesting the replacement of the 2 existing signs, the monument sign and wall sign, to reflect the new name and branding. There's the existing sign at the entrance along West Spain Street, and then the wall sign. There's the site plan that shows the location of the monument sign 7 feet from the sidewalk and also 7 feet from the existing driveway. And sign B is the wall sign that's located on the masonry wall as you enter the facility. The wall sign would replace the existing wall sign, and I'll let Bob give you some more details on the design. Not my forte, not my area of expertise. The dimensional custom cut logo with aluminum lettering on a natural beige background. The monument sign is proposed to be 60 inches tall and 48 inches wide. The sign face is proposed to be 30 by 48 and 10 square feet. The design is that it is a natural rammed earth wall to match the existing buildings, with aluminum lettering and logo elements being on the natural beige background and externally illuminated with low voltage LEDs. And the sign, Bob and I went back and forth for a couple months trying to figure out what would work best for this property. And kind of similar to the earlier project, we have some issues with our existing code and trying to figure out the best way to move forward. So as we proceed with our amendments to the sign ordinance, this is another important case to consider. This is the plans for the monument sign. So pursuant to section 1816.032, no signs are allowed in residential zones. The project site is zoned medium density residential. There are exceptions for a bed and breakfast, which is allowed 1 sign totaling 2 square feet total. Now, the difference between this project and the previous one is there is an approved sign program for the property. So the sign program was approved in 2009, which authorized the existing signs. And we have sign programs all over the city of Sonoma. And what sign programs are intended to do is be an umbrella of what all the different businesses that may come and go can comply with to streamline sign permits in the future. So the recommendation from staff for this is to allow that the existing signage be updated to reflect the new branding, but conditions of approval have been recommended to prohibit any expansion of the existing sign area in order to maintain compliance with the approved sign program. We have the sign findings. And staff's recommendation is to approve the sign permit subject to findings and conditions of approval for the 7 Branches venue and inn located at 450 West Main Street. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Christina. Any questions for staff?
I just want to make a comment. Great presentation, and I love that there is a sign program for this property. It makes things a lot simpler to work with instead of going through what we did before. So you're pretty much doing a straight like for like, because there's no increase in size or anything like that. So that's the advantage of having that program. So that's great.
Thank you.
Any further questions for staff? Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you please state your name and tell us a little bit about the project?
Yes, this is Robert Sanders, and I'm at 675 First Street West, and I'm a representative for the new owners that have changed their branding. And do you see me, or I'm just audio?
No, we can't see you, just audio. If you want to share your video, we can see you then.
Do I say start my video?
Yeah.
Okay. I put on a sweater and shirt and everything to make sense. I haven't seen you guys for a while, and I miss you. And I think that it's a rather when this complex is rolling, they have a lot of guests, a lot of cooking schools, and all sorts of things going on. And so it's my idea that the getting into finding this place and getting into the back parking lot is really important with a nice sign. We've kept it very conservative. It has dimensional letters that are beautiful. So it's multi-layered. It is, the sign is on the rammed earth wall, which is kind of an extra expense to match the building. They have all the same uses that they had in the past. They just ended up rebranding it. And we're excited to build these and get them their identity, which they really need right now. And they're just getting back into, having the guests and the events and all the other stuff that they always used to do. It's a beautiful facility. So anyway, any questions?
Thank you, appreciate it. Is there any questions for the applicant from Commission?
I was just wondering what's going to happen with the wine barrel that is the sign currently. Is that all getting taken out and then?
Yes, would you like it for your backyard? I'm kidding. We're going to remove that and put a new foundation in for the sign. And we're keeping the landscaping, we're shaping it up some, but it'll be the same landscaping scheme. And so it's just a slightly new upgrade of what was there. But the barrel is going to be either relocated or up for grabs.
Do you know what the meaning of 7 branches is?
Gosh, I knew somebody was going to ask that. And I think the idea behind it is there are 7 different activities that they offer. And I know most of them, but I'm not sure if I got named 7, but that's kind of the idea.
Gotcha.
So
thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Are there any public comments? If you want, you can raise your hand and we'll let you in the meeting.
Oh, there's one. Yes. Let's see. Joe Walsh, you can speak.
Thanks, Wendy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to compliment the sign with the rammed earth wall. I know how tricky that can be, and I thought the sign looked great with the rammed earth wall below it.
Appreciate that. Are there any written comments from the public?
No, there's not.
Okay. I'm going to close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Starting with Commissioner Randolph.
Okay. Very nice presentation. I agree. Beautiful signage. Though we all, I think, in Sonoma appreciate driving by that property on a regular basis. Is a beautiful area, and I personally find the new signage just as pretty, and very comparable to the, very complementary to the building and grounds themselves.
Thank you. Commissioner Marr?
Yes, I agree that it's going to be a great new little rebranding for the property. I think it's going to attract a fresh and maybe younger crowd, and it looks very hip, and the sign itself is very sleek. I think this one is pretty straightforward since there's the sign program. It's beautifully drawn, the rammed earth, and I very much like the design. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I agree. It's a straightforward application, and with the sign program, in conformance with their sign program, I have no issues with it whatsoever.
Thank you. Commissioner Vice Chair Burt?
I agree with all the commissioners. I love the signage. I love the logo. And I love the fact that there's 7 uses on there. So that'll be a good conversational piece. I know someone's going to be asking that question more than once. Beautiful. No issues.
Thank you. And I just like to say, I think it's very sophisticated and well done. I think it's very suitable. I don't have any reservations. Having a sign program obviously is a huge advantage in this situation. It's a lot easier conversation than our last one. So with that, I'd like to put it out for a motion. Would somebody like to present the motion?
Move that we,
No, go ahead, Michaela, sorry.
move that we approve the application as submitted.
Second.
Okay.
May I comment subject to the findings and conditions of approval?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, can we get a roll?
Sure. Commissioner Marr?
Aye.
Commissioner Burt?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph?
Aye.
And Chair Cormany?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the nice compliments. I appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Okay.
The next agenda item is 7.3. Go for a staff report.
Yes. Thank you. Chair Cormany. This is an application for sign and design review for a bank, Union Bank, located at 500 Broadway. The project is located just across from the Plaza at the corner of East Napa and Broadway. It's located in the downtown zone, in the historic overlay zone, and banks are an allowed use in that zoning district. So here's a picture of the existing wall sign here for Union Bank, and then here's a picture of the proposed wall sign. So this is on the west facing elevation, and the new sign is proposed at 12.9 square feet. And here's a picture of the existing projecting sign on the west facing elevation. And here's the proposed projecting sign. And it's going to be reduced from 6.2 square feet to 3 square feet. And then there's a projecting sign proposed on the north elevation at the existing sign is 6.25 square feet. And the new proposed projecting sign will be 1 square feet. In addition, a new awning is proposed. So the existing awning frame will remain, but the existing awning color is blue, and the new awning color is proposed to be a charcoal gray. And I'm just going to stop sharing for a second. The applicant did submit awning samples. I got them today at 5 p.m. Unfortunately, I didn't get them, have a chance to deliver them to you, but I do want you to know that they were received. And let's see here. Back in 2010, this commission, or the Design Review Commission, approved a sign program for the bank consisting of a wall sign and 2 projecting signs. The signs that are, the wall sign that is being proposed is a larger than the wall sign that was approved in the sign program. The signs are consistent with the wall sign regulations and the projecting sign regulations. It's also consistent with the aggregate sign area, but in this case, a maximum of 2 signs are permitted for any one business. And the proposal is not consistent with this requirement in that there would be 3 signs for the business with the inclusion of the wall sign and the 2 projecting signs. And so the applicant is requesting a variance from this standard. As I mentioned, the maximum number of signs allowed for the property is 2 unless this commission approves a variance. And so staff determined that the findings could not be made in order to support 3 signs. And so here are the basic findings. And then in the last agenda item, I went over the variance findings. And staff's recommending that this commission approve the wall sign as proposed and reduce the number of projecting signs from 2 to 1. And findings and conditions of approval were included in the staff report that contain the design standards as recommended by staff. And that concludes staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Are there any questions for staff?
I have 2 questions. If we decide to move forward based on your recommendation, then only allow them to have 1 projecting sign, would it be our decision to say which one of the projecting signs should be eliminated?
You can make that recommendation. Yes, sorry for interrupting.
Second, just out of curiosity, do they plan on repainting the building?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any?
David Ford as a panelist. So David, you should be able to start your video and speak now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. My name is David Ford. I am at 124 Allamore Court in Roseville, California. We submitted this application. Essentially, Union Bank is rebranding all of their locations. They have a slightly different logo. You'll see the main difference is on those projecting signs. Previously, the logo was sat atop of the letters. Now it's just a linear sign. The other change, obviously, is from the blue lettering to a gray lettering. That change has also been reflected in the update to the existing awning material, just changing it from the blue color to a gray that's sort of going to match the lettering. Obviously, they would like to keep the signs as proposed. They've got the 1 wall sign, which is kind of higher up on the building. And then, this is a corner location and there's a lot of foot traffic. So they just had a projecting sign on each elevation, which I believe was approved in 2010. So obviously they'd like to keep those signs, the number of signs that are there currently. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission? No. Seeing none, I would say, are there any public comments? If you'd like, you can raise your hand. We'll bring you into the meeting. Oh, you're muted, Wendy.
I don't see anyone else raising their hand, and there's no written comment.
Okay, so no written comments, no public comments. We're going to close the meeting to the public, at which time we'll bring back the commissioner for discussion. Let's start with Vice Chair Burt. You're muted. Sorry.
As far, I'm fine with the way with the staff report, and I don't think you need 2 projecting signs. It's not a very big building, and it's a very small corner. We have enough little signs up and down that little area, so I would prefer to have 1 less sign if I could. So I like the way that the staff report is, And that's probably where I would go with.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I see no problems with the changes that they're making with the color schemes and the newer sign and the awning. But I also agree with Vice Commissioner Byrd about the staff's report, and I'm in line with what they've projected to us. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Commissioner Marr? Up, you're muted.
I'm in favor of the color change, and the awning color I think will look very nice. I do not like the projecting sign. I think it detracts from the architectural detail of the building itself, and it kind of just sticks out there kind of like a tag. I almost want to rip it off. But sorry if I'm sounding harsh. I kind of favor the existing signs with the bracket in the wood, and I think it's wood. It's a little less contemporary and stark looking, right? And I wouldn't maybe be so particular, except for this is like the crown jewel corner that we have facing so many directions on the plaza. I would be in favor of only one sign. Maybe remove the one on the west elevation, because we have that Broadway street sign right there as well, and things get maybe clogged up right there. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Randolph?
It's 5 for 5. We're all muted. Thank you, Chair Carmody. I agree with my fellow commissioners, and thank you for staff report. I agree with Commissioner Amar about the removal of the sign potentially on the west side. There's a lot of visual action right in that area with signs, so that would be I would agree with that removal as well, if that were acceptable to the applicant. I really like the new color scheme. I think that's going to look great with the building itself. And those are my comments.
Appreciate it. And I would just like to add, I concur with most of what's been said. I think it's a really interesting point that it was mentioned this is basically the crown jewel, because it is as you enter into the plaza, and that's certainly a place we don't want to have inundated with signs. So I would say I'm of the same mind of reduction in the number of signs makes sense to me. And I like the color. It seems modern, and color of the awning and everything seems to make sense. So I think the staff did a good job and report. Would somebody like to propose a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve the project based on staff's recommendations with the removal of one of the smaller signs.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Have a roll call, please, Wendy.
She's
She's muted.
Commissioner Amar? She said aye. Commissioner Burt?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph?
aye.
Chair Carmody?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on to next agenda item 7.4. Get a staff report, please.
Wendy, that's me, right? I don't have the agenda in front of me.
It sure is. It
Yay!
is. You're right this time. I mean, you're right all the time.
Please tell that to my 12-year-old daughter. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, the next two items are actually for the MacArthur Place Hotel and Spa. The first one is a use permit and design review, and because of the use permit component, the design review and Historic Preservation Commission's action will be a recommendation to the Planning Commission. And then the second item is design review and landscape plan for a project that already came before you about a year ago for the spa expansion. So the first project we're going to talk about is, you guys know we've done several of these lately. You know all of the details of MacArthur Place, 64 room guest room hotel with a restaurant and spa. It's located in the Broadway corridor and zoned mixed use. The current project entails the construction of 5 new buildings, 11 new hotel guest rooms within those 5 buildings for a total increase of square footage of 6,400 square feet. Also included in the project is approval of the tent at the rear of the restaurant that has been really instrumental during COVID for outdoor space, and will give the restaurant and the hotel some flexibility during inclement weather. Just a quick overview of the new buildings and the rooms, and I know we have Michael Ross who will present all this much more eloquently than I can. The site plan. The buildings are in yellow, so we have U, V, W, X, and Y kind of clustered around the new pool. Tree removal plan. And elevations of the cottages. The fourplex buildings that are 2-story. Another cottage for building Y. These are the exterior renderings. And the proposed materials and finishes, which would be matching the existing hotel. The findings for design review approval. And again, the purview of the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission is a recommendation to the Planning Commission tonight. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Are there any questions for staff? Hearing none. We know the applicant's available. Can we raise your hand? We'll bring you into the meeting. Is that a Wendy or a Christina?
I see Joe and Michael. Wendy, can we promote them to panelists? There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you state your name for an address for the record and tell us a little bit about the project?
Good evening. This is Michael Ross, architect for MacArthur Place Hotel and Spa. And also joining the meeting tonight is Joe Walsh. There he is, Vice President of Development for IMH Financial, which is representing the hotel ownership group. And George Gervin, our landscape architect, who will be presenting on the next agenda item. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen and present a brief PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, we would like that, please.
Okay. Can you see my screen? You should.
Not currently.
Okay, let me back out just for a second. Share a screen. Now you'll see it.
There we go.
Yep. And now we'll run it.
There you go.
Okay. Well, as Christina summarized, I'm guessing that you're seeing my screen. It says project description.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're proposing is the addition of 11 new guest rooms consisting of 5 new infill buildings, which includes 2 fourplex buildings, 3 cottages. And the buildings will be phased, and the phase 1 will include buildings X and U. So MacArthur Place really has a very simple design partie. It's an ensemble of buildings in a garden setting. It's linked together, laced together with a series of pathways offering areas of discovery and gathering. And the the site. There's a certain harmony of the site design, the scale, and architectural design. And our design ambition is to really be consistent to type, that we want to carefully nest these new buildings within the overall campus. So there's a certain sense of inevitability about them, that there's a naturalness about them. There's an interconnectivity with the landscape and the buildings. And the new guest room buildings will be linked by a series of half-hidden outdoor rooms and gardens. In this sort of pattern that you see, for example, you're looking at the Chef's Cottage, Building S. This is a pattern that happens over and over throughout the campus, and it's like the connecting link and tissue between buildings. And I actually believe the architecture for this project needs to be quiet and needs to be part of an ensemble team of buildings similar to what's there now. And this is another great example of one of these connecting pieces of indoor-outdoor spaces that nestles right up to the buildings. Here's another one, these little points of discovery. And why is it important? Because we're proposing to continue the pattern that we did with the spa, where the buildings frame outdoor space and outdoor gardens. And you can see in this diagram where buildings Y, X, W, V, and U, there's associated plantings around them. And here joining with an existing building just north of the spa, we're starting to frame the overall new pool areas. And this diagram indicates how these green areas are starting to have this constellation of buildings that orbit around them and really help create either a foreground or a backdrop to these beautiful gardens. Now, this has been done before. You approved it. We proposed the L-shaped building embracing this major outdoor social space, the pool and spa area. And this was based on historic precedents that we see in our town now, which is the green spaces that are embraced by the L-shaped buildings of the Mission and the Plaza. And this form is really a archetypal form that you see throughout the world, U-shaped buildings, L-shaped buildings, and buildings that work as a more cluster like we're proposing here. And this diagram indicates how we're proposing to design these buildings. This site plan is more like Swiss cheese, where the buildings are depicted as solids and the open space is depicted as gardens and greens. And so you can see Y, X, W, V, and U are proposed to be sort of backdrop, quiet ensemble buildings that add to this overall sense of discovery and pedestrian realm that MacArthur Place does so well. We are proposing to phase the construction for a variety of reasons. That is, we hope to break ground in the beginning of November. And because of the construction of the spa and the need to connect to East MacArthur Street, it's better to build X and U and the spa at the same time and allow for a clear path of travel and contractor staging right up through this axis right here. I'm assuming you can see my cursor moving. And so hopefully when it's approved and we break ground, you will be able to see X, U, and the spa and the site work all begin at once. And the architecture that we're proposing is extremely familiar. It's what's been approved before. It's going to be in a consistent agrarian style using the exact same materials, finishes, windows, colors, doors, light fixtures, signage, just like is depicted here in the Cypress building or Building M. And this is the series of renderings that Christina already showed, but basically these are quiet pieces of architecture, small cottages nestled into the landscape next to pedestrian pathways with associated outdoor space. Here's Building U. You can see the generous outdoor space with trees going through the deck. Here's Building V. It's out near MacArthur Place, surrounded by shrubbery, nestled in the landscape. Its floor plan. The fourplex building W and X, these buildings are exact replicas of what's already there now. These 2 units above, 2 units below with French doors out to private patios and gardens. Here is cottage building Y. It's really a neighbor on the curvy path. If you've been there, the curvy path is the east-west main pedestrian promenade that links many of the buildings. And it is a simple sort of backdrop buildings like the chef's cottage that is hearkening to a simpler era. Here's its floor plan. Now, to enable this, we're going to remove 2 trees and transplant 3. And George will be able to speak to the tree transplant removal plan, but basically, for every tree that is removed, 3 will be replaced. And so we are very aware of Sonoma's urban forest and the hotel's contribution to it, and we'll be continuing to plant trees throughout the campus as the project transforms and development is completed. Joe has been really important in implementing a new parking management plan. There's 131 spaces on site, and all of the parking requirements for the 11 new guest rooms are already addressed in the existing 131 spaces. One last thing, George will be speaking about some Broadway streetscape enhancements that are part of this project. And relative to the tent in the back over Layla, this is, if you've been there recently, you can see that I don't have a photo of this, maybe Joe might, but basically it's a clear tent that tents the back outdoor southern courtyard. It's very discreet, mostly hidden by the redwood trees in the building that's there. And we believe that it's important for the approval of the tent to continue to support the restaurant and provide it flexibility over the future. So this concludes my brief presentation. I want to thank you for your patience in viewing it, and I'm available to speak to any of your comments or questions if necessary.
Great, we appreciate that. Are there any questions for the applicant from the commission? No? I have a question. In the design, it's kind of incidental, but I noticed some outdoor showers, and that's being incorporated into some of the design. And I was wondering, is that related to the ones close to the pool, or is that normal, or is that, I'm just curious, I haven't seen that before.
Great question. I believe, Joe can correct me, but I believe there's approximately 28 outdoor showers now associated with the major guest room refurbishment and remodel that we did a couple of years ago. And so the new rooms will be having outdoor showers as well. And then the spa, which you already approved, had some outdoor showers in the hydrotherapy areas to the west of the spa building, and I believe that's what you're referring to.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, do we have any public comments? If so, we'll raise your hand and staff can bring you in the meeting. And I think we need to stop the screen share at this point, please. There we go. People again. Seeing no public comments, are there written comments from the public or any written comments?
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you. Seeing none, I'm going to close the meeting to the public and bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I would, with your permission, I'd like to make one brief comment.
Sure.
Joe and the hotel hosted a neighborhood community open house where we reviewed the design and the overall land use changes with the community and the local neighbors. And we received 100% positive comments about the proposal during that session.
Great, appreciate that. Are there any other comments before we close it and bring it back to the commission? Seeing none, do go through the commissioners. Let's start with Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you. As usual, thank you for your beautiful presentation. Everybody that lives in Sonoma is really proud of that space, and it's been a pleasure watching it develop and have many portions of the space revealed. A lot of it was covered up for a while, so it's wonderful to be able to see it happening. I have no problems at all with the application. I think it's just continuing to evolve and become a more and more beautiful space. And again, I appreciate your presentation and descriptions. They're always very, very helpful.
Thank you. Commissioner Marr? I got mute. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Ross, for a thoughtful presentation. And I just love the concept of the interconnection between the buildings and the natural landscaping. And I also appreciate how everything so far that I've seen come through to this commission really respects not only the neighbors, but the history of the town itself. And so I think that you are setting a very high bar for future hospitality directors, developers, and I hope that they take inspiration from this project. My highest hope is that somebody will turn the car lot into something equally special someday. So thank you very much. I have no problems with the new buildings as presented.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson? Muted.
Thank you, Chair Cormier. I agree with both commissioners, with Commissioner Randolph, in that the projects that they've presented to us in the past have all been top notch. I love what they're doing. And I also like their dedication to enhancing the property within the scale of what they've done and keeping in line with the feel of the city. They've been good partners with the commission and obviously with the local community. So I like the continuation, and as Commissioner Randolph said, the evolution of this project as it moves forward. So I have no problems whatsoever with anything that they've presented, and I would be on the side of recommending to the Planning Commission that this continue to move forward.
Thank you. Vice Chair Burt?
Beautiful presentation. It has been such a joy watching it evolve throughout the years. And what makes it so nice about this is the fact that where you're putting the new buildings, you haven't really changed anything. You just incorporated everything. And when you were showing us the plot map, I was looking at the percentage of the green to the buildings, and it's almost equal. And how purposeful it is, but I know it's easy, but it's not easy. And that's what makes this such a such a beautiful project. And thank you so much for involving the community. I can say before COVID, that's where all the locals came to have coffee, and it was a new meeting place, and we always felt very welcome. So it is a special place with the residents, and they really embraced it. And I think it's all really has to do with the design and the atmosphere that you have created. So it's enjoyed by all. And I also compliment you when you had done the parking plan a couple of years ago, that you had anticipated, I'm sure, that you were going to do some expansion. So that's really good that you were able to handle that ahead of time. That's what great planning does. So I commend you for that. So beautiful project, and look forward to getting this going.
Yeah, and I concur with what's been said previously. One thing I'll say, when we get our packets and we start looking through, when I start to see things come through with MacArthur Place, I relax and say, oh, this is going to be easy, because it's been consistent. It's been very consistent. There's an aesthetic there, an approach to it. I think it's very well appreciated. And it's also been very impressive to me to see a space that I thought was already pretty premier, and then to watch it go up a level or two has been very impressive. So kudos to you. You're doing great work, and we appreciate it. So that said, would somebody like to create a motion that we can vote upon? Not everybody wants now.
I know. Let's see.
Just a reminder, it's a recommendation to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
So you can help me with the wording, but I move that we accept the application as submitted with a, let's see, erase, start over. I move that we recommend to Planning Commission to accept this application as submitted.
Perfect.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Amar? Commissioner Byrd?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson? I think you said aye. Commissioner Randolph?
Aye.
And Chair Cormany?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye, for the record.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
And moving on, we're going to agenda 7.5, which is some of the same players. So we'll continue. The staff report, please.
All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
I can see in the Zoom, I have the blue reflecting off my face when it switches over. So as I mentioned earlier, this current application is a landscape plan and design review for the spa expansion that was previously approved. This was similarly a use permit and design review that went from a recommendation at DRHPC to approval by the Planning Commission. And there was also an initial study and mitigated negative declaration along with that project. Gonna skip through all this. It's the same. On May 19th was when the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission reviewed the project. It was adopted on July 9th, 2020. And at this time, the application is for the concepts, not the concepts, but the implementation of the landscape and pool design plan. This is just to remind you what was approved previously. So there is a new courtyards, the sun decks, renovated pool area, and the planting plan is a mixture of 2 transplanted mature trees and new trees. And similar to before, I am sure the applicant will do a better job describing the landscape plan, but here is the site plan. I just want to steal the pool for my own. The tree planting plan. And we have the design review findings of approval. And staff's recommendation is to approve the design review and landscape plan for the MacArthur Place Hotel and Spa, subject to findings and conditions of approval. Other questions? list. That's what I like.
Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we know the applicant's available, so we've got you in the meeting. Would you please state your name and address for the record and tell us a bit
Sure.
about your project?
Can I let me do a quick intro. My name is Joe Walsh, 7100 Scottsdale Road with IMH Financial Corporation. And then George Gervin is going to present the landscape plan. We basically did the plan for the spa and pool a year and a half ago. And our company went through reorganization about 1 year ago. MacArthur Place was not part of the reorganization. You've probably read the local paper. The company reorganized. We're a fully owned merchant bank of JP Morgan, and we're rebranding our name. All creditors were paid when the company went through reorganization. And thankfully, the hotel is emerging from COVID. We're back up and operating now, and we have a kind of a directive to put as much final renovation as we can in one plan to limit the disruption to the hotel in the future. So Michael, George, myself, we came up with a plan subject to the approval of the entitlements to what's the best way that we could limit the interruption to the operation and deliver the spa and pool and deliver some of the future entitlements that we're hoping to get approval for. And the plan came out to be, we had to amend the north end of the pool, which is basically the landscape. And then, as Michael had stated, 2 of the guest room buildings, 5 guest room keys, could logically be built with the pool and spa. So in your packet, George has put together the landscape plan, which trailed the spa architectural of record plan. But then George's presentation is going to amend that to show what the landscape plan will look like, subject to the entitlements. And then I think it's a great plan. It's changes to it, but I think George has done an outstanding job on it. So with that, I'll turn it over to George Gervin.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Bill, why don't you pull up the first plan? We'll walk them through it.
So do we have somebody else who's joining? I don't see.
Would you like me to promote Bill Reinhardt as a panelist?
Yeah, please. He's
Okay.
got the file of all the drawings.
Okay, great. I'm
Make my
working on
job
that.
easier.
Hi, everybody. Can you see my screen with the master plan?
Yeah, we can. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, great. Take it away, George.
So as Michael kind of pointed out, this has been a strategy as we've worked with this project for many years. And I think as most of you have identified, it's been well thought out in terms of the way it would be strategically developed to minimize impact to the community as well as the operations. And as you know, we're now into the center of the project. And a couple of things are really helping out. As this plan shows, it's kind of an updated master plan of a plan that we have shown many times as we move forward with elements, that the yellowish buildings are the ones that were being proposed as part of the future entitlement. Again, as Joe and Michael pointed out, along MacArthur between the entry of the Burris House, where we cleaned up all the landscape, opened up a window to the community to really expose the beautiful historical house. Right next to it, between the Burris House and Building F, there's a large overgrown grove of bamboo, which is really not appropriate for the garden. And that was with the area that we decided that we would develop as a ingress and egress for the construction to minimize any disturbance of any of the more important plant material that we've made extreme sensitivity to really saving. Matter of fact, within this pool plan, there's a very large crepe myrtle and a very large magnolia that are in the way. but we're going to be boxing those and moving those and then replanting them. Even they're only moving in some cases 5 or 6 feet. It was important to keep the scale, keep the maturity of the landscape as part of the whole environment that we're creating. And as Michael pointed out, this building is going to really tie in with the campus. There's a main front door that's coming off of what we call the curvy path. You'll have a sense of entry. And one of the nice things is that as you walk through the lobby, you're going to have a new orientation of a swimming pool. It's not a renovated pool. Actually, we're taking out the old pool that's oriented the other way. This will give us more length to the pool, more area for sunning, both shade areas in the summer when it's hot, more sunning areas. We're adding cabanas, a raised jacuzzi. Everything is done to accepting all of the ADA requirements. So it is fully available per the ADA codes. We have the fenced area that is going to contain it, so we have safety. And one of the things that evolved as we move forward, as Joe and Michael mentioned, with the entitled buildings, they will be phased, so we minimize the disruption. That they mentioned that X, which is really a mirror of H, which is already there, and U, which is kind of a similar cottage to S, which is already existing. Those will be built as part of the spa and pool area. And as we mentioned, that we're going to be coming through from MacArthur, so we can't really build V or W. They're going to be future phases. And so we originally, in the approved plan where X is, where these great old trees are, we were going to develop an outdoor eating area, lounge area, fire pit area. This is what we had presented before. Underneath these trees, we had then a raised area for chaise lounges and a trellis, again, all accessible by ADA standards and all fenced. And then as this plan evolved and we wanted to mirror H, this was a logical place, continuing to save those trees. They become part of the front patios. Then we realized that the outdoor lounge area needed to be moved because now there's going to be a building there. So let's go to the next plan, Bill. So we actually got more landscape. We got more outdoor garden. So the area that was originally the F&B where a building will be built, we decided to take away the raised lawn area. We've expanded the area that would be for chaise lounges and umbrellas. We have an inner lawn area that is a flexible space. It will have patios with chaise and tables with umbrellas. And that we're going to be bringing in a really cool old trailer that'll have a service for grill and bar service that'll be pre-made. They bring it out from the kitchen. We have an outdoor barbecue grill area. We have a fire pit area. We have a continued walk that goes through a gate. So now all of this area is inside the fence of the pool for events and activity areas and cocktail parties and game areas on the lawn area. But we still preserve the circulation from the Burris House on the north across heading west to the great lawn where events occur. There's then 4 main entries into the pool. There'll be a lock gate with a walkway going up to MacArthur. So now with all that bamboo gone, we'll expand the gardens that were developed in phase 1 in front of the Burris House, really giving a beautiful streetscape along this part of the hotel, which has been hidden with all the bamboo over the years.
Right.
And this walkway then, we will be planting an alley of beautiful red spire maple trees that go all the way down to the front door. So as you walk on the on the south side, on the curvy path, you will have an axial view all the way over the top of the pool, down the alley, through the gardens to the fire pit area, all the way to MacArthur. We think it's a great addition. It adds a lot more landscaping to the frontage on the neighborhood and the community, and that we retain the activity areas utilizing the large trees that are there. They're incorporated into the plan along with the additional trees. So we have one gated area there. We have another on the west side where you would come into the pool area. We have a walkway on the east side where you come in a gated area. And we also have on the east side, on the southeast corner on this main walkway, another entry that would allow you to come into the fitness center, to go up the stairs to the yoga deck, the roof deck, or you could come down to the curvy path, which is the main entry into the spa, or you can avoid going into the spa and coming along this pathway and going in to the fitness in the event that the hours of operation for the spa, you want to work out earlier in the morning or late at night. We've added more outdoor area for chases, relaxation, covered arbors. We have a beautiful entry as you go through the building. You're under a covered walkway, whether you're going to the fitness center or you're going into the courtyard, which is an enclosed courtyard, has a fire feature in the wall that is seen from the pool side as well as the courtyard side. With Michael's got beautiful sliding pocket doors. This all opens up into the lobby and staging area for those people that are having appointments for the spa treatments. So that really makes that a very unique sanctuary. And then as you move to the west, whether you go out through the women's locker room or the men's, we showed you this before, but one of the things that happened is that we took out the cold plunges. We had separate cold plunges, but they were really taking up a lot of the room. We didn't think they would be used as much, and we were able to add more lounge areas, trellises with heaters, larger outdoor ADA accessible showers for men and women, as well as the raised spas with a hydrotherapy waterfall that is part of the back wall that will be part of the ambiance of these outdoor gardens, with much more planting and vine covered walls. These are beautiful stucco walls that'll embrace this space. With that, I think that we can go to the next plan, Bill, that kind of is all of the planting. And as I mentioned, we're just so pleased with this campus because there's so many historical trees. We have borrowed landscape with the area across the creek at the entry. We have these great trees we've been able to preserve and incorporate into the gardens, even at great expense to move some beautiful big trees. But we're adding more garden, we're adding more vocabulary. Even on the terrace on the second floor, which is the roof deck, we're bringing in large terracotta pots and beautiful lemon trees. So we have the fragrance of the lemon, and we have the lemons for our gin and tonics and cocktails in the summer, as well as for the F&B area. So again, I think the agrarian vocabulary is bringing forth. We have some beautiful espalier apples that we've saved. They were part of the old restaurant terrace. We transplanted them, we relocated them here. We're going to take one where we're having to make a minor change and moving one over here. So we've taken great care to nurture this garden, to add vocabulary, to minimize maintenance and water. And I think it's really maturing quite well. Go to the next plan, please, Bill. We carried through the same vocabulary in the vernacular of the landscape, shrubs and ground covers and vines that we've started. So we're getting beautiful color, fragrance, some of the herbs, some of the fragrant plants, the rosemary, the thyme, some of the things we've been added, star jasmine. We're adding beautiful clematis. The clematis is one of the first vines that blooms and has wonderful fragrant in January and February. Those will be in the trellises in the hydro gardens as well. Next one, please. So again, part of the vocabulary in the story that was developed with the operations and ownership, and some of these are incorporating existing spaces, as Michael pointed out. This is one of the outdoor gardens, that it's a community gathering area for people that could have at dinner, come and have a cocktail, glass of wine, sit around the fire. It's kind of that community. We're going to continue that in the new F&B. You can notice the low fencing. There have roses. We have trellises at entries. We have the apple espalier, umbrellas, etc., and flagstone. This vocabulary will be used for the new F&B area where the trailer will be. Some good shots of kind of the imagery of the trailer opening up as part of the pool area. Beautiful sitting areas, the use of both lawn and roof terrace for yoga and exercise. Many of the entry areas, as Michael mentioned, this is the chef's cottage. We have these beautiful cedar fences that are painted out with the arbors, with the climbing roses. Really a nice sense of entry going through really a lock gate. Your front door to your room is really your garden gate. So you really go in and have an expanded experience as part of the hospitality of this project. Let me see if there's any other, again, just the vocabulary of the roses and the herbs. This is, let's go ahead, Bill, one more. There we go. So again, the vocabulary with the pool, with the new raised spa, we're incorporating this element that is the hydrotherapy waterfall, as well as the jets. It's raised, so it's accessible by ADA. It has a lot of vines on the walls and planting. These would be wonderful spaces. All new decking around the pool, beautiful new tile in the pool, all of the handrails and large wide steps going in for social. A lot of people like to get in the pool. They don't necessarily want to swim. So we provided long underwater stairs and rails for people to stay in the pool, socialize, to be able to sit and be out of the way. The cabanas we're doing, that there's 4 cabanas that'll be available for guests that provide shade. They have fans and lights in them, and they're a wonderful area to be out of the sun and have a little privacy, take a nap, have lunch, many others. We're incorporating some of the brick areas. We're providing ADA required lifts on the pool. Again, carrying the vocabulary of the garden entries into all of the spaces. So they're connected with park-like paths. You go through the gateways, the rose-covered trellises into the outdoor space, and it's like being in a wonderful park. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much our presentation of the new spa and pool and expanded garden areas. I'll be happy to address any questions the commission may have. One other thing, we have a drawing of the Broadway improvements that we've proposed. There we go. Can you blow that up? So one of the things that we looked at early on, there was an entry from the parking lot out through the gate to the sidewalk. When the parking got rearranged, we took out that entry, we closed that up. We're going to add 2 more camphora trees to be part of the row of camphora that are there. The walk then from the fence out, we're going to be planting all new rosemary Tuscan blue. It's a beautiful drought tolerant low rosemary, a beautiful flower. The sycamores are going to be maintained, watered, and we're going to take out the turf grass to minimize the use of a lot of water and mowing. And we're going to propose to put in a carex. It's a drought tolerant low sedge. They call it dune sedge. It looks beautiful. It says minimal mowing. People can walk on it, sit on it. It's a very hardy green element as part of the parkway into the Sonoma downtown area. And so part of the conditions that we're proposing is that we take over and help develop the streetscape as part of the hotel's window to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Very comprehensive presentation. We appreciate it. Are there any questions from the applicant from the commission? No. Are there any public comments? Any written comments?
No, no one's raising their hand and there's no written comment.
Okay, very good. I'm going to close the meeting to the public at this point and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Let's start with Vice Chair Burt.
I'm overwhelmed. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, you put so much thought into this and it just looks so simple, but yet it's not. And I just love how you embrace all the colors, you know, in there. It's, you know, especially with the arches, with the climbing roses, with the different colors of the trees you chose. I love the lemon trees. And also keep it in mind of the drought resistance planting that you're putting in there. Like I said, it's absolutely magnificent, and bravo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. How about Commissioner Randolph?
Thank you, Chair Cormany. Agree with Commissioner Burt. I think we would probably all be standing up and clapping if we were in the room together. What Commissioner Amar said at the previous presentation about your work as an inspiration, hopefully for many in our town. This project, the imagination, the teamwork, the creativity, the problem solving, the preservation, it just all comes together with obviously just a huge love for this space. And so that wasn't just talking about the pool. That wasn't just a little presentation about changing the pool. You whetted our appetites. When somebody said, "Are there any questions?" My question is, when do I move in? When do I sneak in and make myself a little stowaway? But it's such a tremendous addition to the community. It's a jewel. It's a jewel in the gateway to Sonoma. So thank you for your years of work on this project and for your deep sensitivities to everything about it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson. Oh, you're muted again, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Chair Cormany. I couldn't say anything better than what Michaela just said, and it's a beautiful property, and again, top-notch presentation. All of the time and energy that you guys put into thoughtfully putting this together, the colors you're using, the space development, it's just great. So bravo, and I look forward to strolling the grounds when another 5-6 years and things are growing in and smelling some of these different smells throughout the year.
Mr. Amar?
Yes, I feel the same way as my fellow commissioners, and thank you for the very articulate presentation. And my favorite things are the bamboo removal. I think that's great. I think the pool realignment is just really great. It echoes the L-shaped building, and with the steps, I don't know if I'm overanalyzing now, but with the steps, it looks like a cross, which is kind of like our mission. So, and it really kind of is the focal point when you're looking at the plan, and everything's so well composed. It's just so lovely to look at the plan itself. And so I think everything is perfection. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I'd like to say it's very impressive to see the amount of forethought and passion involved in this project from all of you. I mean, it's clear this is not just another job, it's something you're really concerned and care about. I appreciate the attention to ADA and the pool lifts and hydrotherapy and shallow pools, because we do have an aging community. I think that would be welcome, and it just provides inclusivity to many. And the level of consideration and thought process here is just simply amazing. So great job. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, with that, would somebody like to make a motion, please? Try this again. Should be easy.
And Christina, we're not submitting to planning on this. This is okay. So I move that we accept the application as submitted.
We have a second. Mr. Johnson. A roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Burt,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
and Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our somewhat final item is 7.6 for this evening. Get a bit of a staff report about our annual report.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Cormany. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
step on your toes there.
Is it Wendy or Chris? It's Wendy, right, this time?
Yep.
Okay.
So as a certified local government, every year the city is required to submit an annual report. The annual report requires that this commission review the annual report prior to submitting it to the Office of Historic Preservation. And these reports are due this year by April 30th. And so the report that I provided is a template, and it summarizes all of your meetings, meeting agendas, meeting minutes, attendance, and has resumes for all of you and staff members. And so I would like to hear any questions or comments you have about the annual report, and please make a recommendation to submit the report to the Office of Historic Preservation. Thank you.
Okay. Are there questions from the commission to staff? I have an obvious one, I believe, but if I was looking at attendance and I noticed March, April, nobody was here, but that's because those were canceled. Is that correct? Because of
Right.
COVID? Yeah.
You get a gold star.
I remember COVID. Oh yeah. Can't wait till I can say that for real.
Ugh. Yeah, me too.
No, it's very comprehensive. Anybody else have questions?
I just have a comment of appreciation for pulling together millions of random pieces of material into one 8.5 by 11 shape. I'm sure that many of these things were all over the board. So a great appreciation to staff for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's impressive, and I recognize the amount of effort it would take to put something like this together. So we don't take it lightly, even though it's easy for us to just sit here and say thanks, but it is appreciated.
That's nice.
Agreed, yeah.
So our next, our
So
basic,
someone make a motion. Oh, sorry.
that's right. So we need to make a motion to accept this report as, I'll make a motion after that. I make a motion that we we accept this report as presented by staff and submit to the local, is it local government? Who do you submit this to?
The Office of Historic Preservation.
Office of Historic Preservation.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Was that Christopher Johnson or Terry Burt that second?
You can
Either.
say they were both, it was a tie.
All right. Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Burt,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
and Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
So, and then finishing up, are there any other items for discussion?
Yes, there are actually.
Good, because I have one too.
I would like to share with you that Christina Morris is no longer with the city of Sonoma, and I hope you will all join me in wishing her well on her adventures.
Oh, I do, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that said, staff is a little bit short-staffed, and Christina Tierney had the fantastic responsibility of making all the copies for the packets on Friday, and she came up with this brilliant idea that maybe not all the commissioners need a hard copy, and we could actually save some trees. So we'd like to say that from moving forward, we won't be making hard copies of the packet unless you specifically request it, and we can certainly provide that. But I want to make sure you all know how to access the agendas on our city's website. And so I just thought I'd really quickly take you through that process. And I'm trying to...
Wendy, may I make a comment when you're ready?
I'm ready. So
we did an experiment with, or I did an experiment with this before, and it's easy to find the packet, but it's so huge that it takes forever for it to ever be able, for you ever to be able to read it. So I wonder, personally, I wouldn't mind having at least the agenda as a hard copy, or the agenda piece like separated in its own file rather than the massive collection of paper that comes in the packet. I think it's a brilliant idea to get it off the paper. I feel horrible every time I throw one of these away, but if there's a way to have at least the agenda items listed in a separate file or folder, it would be helpful.
So it's like that on the website, and
it
I'm
is
trying
okay.
to
All right.
get there to show you what it looks like.
Thank you. I probably haven't looked in a while. I've been lazy in using my paper.
Let's see here.
It'd also be great to know if there are certain things where it would really be helpful to have full size, like just project plans or something like that.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is sometimes we're very comprehensive in the things that we include, and especially when we have the historic resource evaluations and attachments that are, like 300 pages. We've been moving towards having everything electronically, and the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission is the next stop. Moved to iCompass last year, and we've just still been printing just out of habit.
Yeah, understood.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so under Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission, you can click on just the agenda, and you can just get
okay. All right.
the agenda, or
that's what I do. And then if I click on the individual items, it doesn't take as long to load. If you try to download the whole packet, I agree. It's kind of a disaster.
Yeah, so if you go, like Christina said, if I'm just trying to show you what she said, if you click on just the agenda, then you can go in and open this
project by project
item. Yeah, and it would take a lot less time.
Mm-hmm.
It still seems like it's taking some time, but and of course, if we get anything that has those manufacturer color samples or awning samples, we'll deliver those to you. It would just be, as you can see, it's still taking a long time to open.
And we're still happy to print packets. I think we just want to make sure we know who's actually using them, so it's not just an effort in, making copies.
I have some comments. One is thinking of getting back in person. So like right now, I have two screens. I have a big screen. It's pretty easy, and I would prefer digital. If we're at a dais and we're looking at those little screens, I don't know if it's going to be as convenient. I mean, most of that we'd be looking at pre and during the meetings. I typically rely on staff reports, so it's mostly what we look at prior to. That's my take on it. I'm all for going all electric though, electronic, paper free.
I think what we're proposing right now is trying this for 2 months for May and June, and then I think, Wendy, did you already say that the meeting in July is, no, meeting in July is canceled. I think we're trying to have a quiet month in July. So all the city council, planning commission are going to be canceled in July. So we're thinking just trying it out for 2 months and then going back in August and seeing what worked, what didn't work.
That's a great idea.
So why don't we, for May, why don't we try to go paper free? And then if you get the packet and you look at it over the weekend and you think, oh my goodness, this is not going to work out, then you can contact us and we'd be happy to print out a copy and deliver it to you.
You know what's going to be a challenge? Because I'm so used to seeing the paper envelope go, oh yeah, I remember that's next Tuesday. That packet becomes a reminder that I need to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we have to have a precursor email or something. Remember to download your packet on like Friday or something, so we get a couple days advance, because it might be, that was always been a calling card for me, like, oh, there's a packet, I got to pay attention, because sometimes I lose track of months and weeks and days.
Yeah, I agree. That would be helpful. A reminder email that the new agenda is up.
Yes, so all of you can sign up for a news alert under our website, and you'll automatically get an email that the agenda packet is ready for download. And that would be that would really be helpful to staff, because we have so many steps now and that we're short staffed. It's it can be challenging.
Definitely.
And for example, we had 3 hearings this week. So we had City Council Monday, we had design review tonight, and we have a special planning commission on Thursday. So Friday we had to get out design review packet and planning commission packet, and then Wednesday with City Council. So we've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to show you how you can sign up for news alerts?
Sure.
Sure, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm happy to send out an email for May and June until we, kind of get the hang of things too.
That'd be
So
great.
let's see if you.
Thank you guys so much.
What's the earliest the information gets put online?
It's usually Friday afternoon.
Okay, it's all Friday. All right.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do we? I'm trying to remember. There we go. Subscribe to e-news notifications, and then you put in your name, your last name, your email, and then oh, look at that. It doesn't have design review. So we'll definitely get design review on the news alerts, but in the meanwhile, we will, Christina and I will remember together to send you out an email when the packet is ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, happy to print. We just would love to have dialogue about what, and if it's just the staff reports and the plans, and maybe we have the exhibits online, even that would save us a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, and I would say the thing that gets really is the historic reviews. Those are a couple hundred pages per, and that really is significant page count.
Times 8.
And I also sometimes feel bad about people print out these 24-inch plans and give us 10 sets that we just all walk out the meeting and recycle. It's like, it's not only it's paper, but it's expense too. So I can appreciate
Yes, we try to work with the applicants not to submit large size drawings unless it's necessary to convey that message, because sometimes you really do need to open up a large size plan and look at the nitty gritty. And when we do receive large size plans, we will deliver them to you.
I have a question about when you send the renderings digitally, and let's say I want to print one, especially like some of the floor plans. Will you guys have it in a size that will be able to download it that I'll be able to print it on 11 by 17 inch paper if I wanted to, rather than bothering you for it? I was just
Yeah.
curious as far as the size of the image.
Yeah, you can print everything that's on the website in 11 by 17 format.
Okay. Not that I will, but I just want to know if I have the availability.
You
to
do
it.
have the ability, yes.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. I think it's a great idea.
So there's another item I wanted to discuss that I'm curious about. It came up today. I didn't really. What's the status of tents? Because I know that I know we had some. There was a conversation here about MacArthur Park having a year-round tent. I know that Hop Monk has a tent, that there's conditional use permits, and I think with some of the leftovers of the Parkettes and that, do we have policy on tents?
I think our tent policy has been shifting somewhat. A year ago, if you remember, a year and a half ago, the Hot Monk tent went before the Planning Commission, and the direction at the time was actually to amend the development code to have provisions for temporary tents. And there were issues with our current practice, which was issuing temporary use permits for these tents kind of again and again and again. Then we entered the world of COVID, and we have been allowing tents under the COVID business reopening program that City Council has sponsored. And I'll let Wendy's a little bit more familiar with that, but we have uniform guidelines, and if the tents are on private property and they meet the specifications and get approval by the fire department, they're allowed during COVID. And if it's on public property, so in the right of way on a sidewalk, something like that, then they require an encroachment permit and a temporary use permit.
That's perfect. But I think after COVID, moving forward, the Planning Commission is going to want to revisit tents, and we may be making some modifications to the zoning code, and that may or may not come before this commission.
Yeah, and then I have another naive question. So define a sign program and how that was applicable tonight to those different situations. So when they presented it initially, they created a program, or I'm not sure I understand.
A lot of our shopping centers have sign programs, and so what it is general specifications about what the size is, what colors can be used, what materials can be used. So for example, the marketplace is a great example. All the signs have a similar look, feel, and sign. And then when there's changes in copy or businesses come and go, if it complies with the sign program, we can approve it administratively.
It doesn't even require administrative review if it's consistent with the sign program.
So when the developer is building the property, they submit the sign program as part of it, how that would come to be? I mean, it just looked like we had kind of 9-day examples because of one had a site plan and one didn't, and the difference between the Rite Aid and Ramekins was.
Yeah, and the planning director is that we've had other projects similarly where the planning director has recommended that they do a sign program for the business and the property in order to streamline in the future. So that's definitely a route that the planning department is moving.
Okay, cool. Any other issues, updates, items for discussion?
Nope.
Other than reminding everyone, no hearing in July. Happy vacation.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to officially adjourn this meeting at 8:40 p.m. We are done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.